came across these CDs from the Monroe Institute, which are called the Gateway Experience, and it's a set of 18 CDs in total, and they use this technology called HemiSync. And HemiSync is designed to where you wear headphones and you have a specific sound that goes in the right ear that affects the left hemisphere of the brain, and then you have a sound that goes in the left ear that affects the right hemisphere. And these two sounds create a third unique sound, which then creates this hemispheric activity and gives you that whole brain activity. And it's the type of sort of synchronization of those hemispheres that it takes monks years and years of dedicated meditation practice to achieve. And we're talking about deep theta and even what's called epsilon brainwave states, which epsilon is actually deeper than delta. So very deep states. And we can pretty much, with this sound technology, we can recreate that sort of and train the brain to those deeper levels within, as short as 5 to 10 minutes in most cases, depending on which sort of sound technology you're using. But we'll explore the sound technology a little bit later. So I ordered this set of 18 CDs and got them in the mail, started reading through the literature, and I understood very quickly that we're supposed to use them sequentially from CD1 all the way through to CD18, and that it was recommended that you really take your time with it, maybe a good 2 to 3 months to explore the CD set and not sort of jump ahead. But I'm really impetuous type, and so I like to kind of just have my cake and eat it immediately type of stuff. So I don't have that much patience, and I kind of just went straight into it. Had that first night I was lying on my couch and listening to Robert Monroe, his voiceover, and him explaining the technology and what was going to happen with that CD. And then I woke up in the morning about 6, 7 o'clock thinking, wow, what the hell was on that tape? Because I didn't remember anything. And so the next night I'm lying on my couch again, and I thought, right, this time, Mr. Monroe, and you and your technology are not going to leave me behind. I'm going to be conscious throughout this time. But again, I woke up about 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, lying on the couch, shivering cold. Wow, what the hell happened? What's going on? This stuff's quite powerful. And it proceeded like this for about a week until I finally thought, okay, I need to approach this with a bit more respect. And I did learn after a period of time to really take my time with it, and I did kind of go 2 or 3 months before I got through all 18 CDs. And it was about a year into using this program, I still hadn't had what I could honestly put my hand up and say was a conscious out-of-body experience, something very crystal clear, not dreamlike at all. And I never wanted to kid myself at any point. I wanted to know that I'm more than my physical body. I didn't want to kid myself. So it was about a year in when I ordered this book from a recommendation online from a guy named William Buhlman, who's been exploring, and I'll give you his details later, who's been exploring the out-of-body state for at least 40 years up to that time. And so I got his book, and he had about 50 different techniques in the book. So the idea was that something will work for, there's going to be something for everyone. And it was exactly at that time period I'd also contracted I went into the woods one day and contracted this poison ivy or poison oak and got this rash. And this rash got really bad after about a week. And I remember waking up one night and just thinking, I just can't take this anymore. I've got to go downstairs. So I went downstairs, put some calamine lotion on, went into the lounge, got the HemiSync stuff out, put the headphones on. And I thought to myself, I'm going to try my best to induce maybe a medium trance state just to escape some of this itchy sort of nonsense. And so I started using some of William Buhlman's techniques. I started using the HemiSync in combination. And I guess about an hour into it, I must have fallen asleep because it's really powerful stuff. If there's any insomniacs, I really highly recommend this stuff if you want to go to sleep. So about an hour into it, I must have gone unconscious. And then suddenly, wham, I was kind of hit with these full body vibrations. It's as if somebody took a cattle prod and stuck it in the center of my chest without the pain, though, that is associated with something like that. And it was just so invigorating. It brought me to full waking consciousness. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, I was really excited. I was thinking, these are the vibrations that everybody talks about. These, I've read them in Monroe's book, Buhlman's book, I've read them online, and I was really excited. And I was thinking to myself, right, I wonder if I could just sit up out of my body. And with that thought, I was sitting up halfway out of my body, and I was so incredibly, felt so free in that moment. But then something really bizarre happened, if that's not bizarre enough, I guess. And this white light kind of just flooded into the room, and his hand reached in through the light, and I was like, oh, shit. And so I kind of thought, oh, I'm not really ready for a hand, maybe my halfway out of my body, but not a hand. And so I kind of retreated back into my body, and at that point, a little bit of fear did take over, And so the hand withdrew, the light withdrew, and I was left with these very mild vibrations at that point, and I thought, you've done your head. You know, a whole year to get out of my body, all this itching, and a little bit of a hand comes through some light, and and I freak out. So I thought, no, I'm going to relax. I now have the blueprint. I know what those vibrations feel like. Maybe I can recreate that sensation. So I stayed still, didn't move, and I couldn't move anyhow because I was in paralysis by that point. And then the vibrations slowly, within about a minute, came back, and they were much more powerful than they were the first time. So again, I thought, okay, a little bit of trepidation, but I'm going to try and sit up again. And again, I sat up, and I was just halfway out of my body, looking back at my body. I was like, wow, this is cool. And then after a few seconds, that light flooded in again, and the hand came back through. And I was just kind of sit there, staring at this hand, and thinking, do I, don't I? And so I put out my non-physical hand, and as soon as I got near the hand, it grabbed hold of me. It pulled me away from my physical body. And then the hand withdrew, and the light withdrew, and I was stood there on my own in my lounge, hovering over my own physical body. And it was, up to that moment in time, the most profound experience in my life, to be stood there, hovering in close proximity to my physical body. I knew finally in that moment that I was more than my physical body. Yes, I believed it my whole life. I had that strong feeling that I'm sure all of you have. But to re-experience, to reawaken to this multidimensional nature of who and what we really are, was a very powerful moment for me. And I got really inspired. I doubled my efforts. I mean, I was already still doing 2 or 3 sort of sessions a night. But I really doubled my efforts, and I learned, a powerful experience, a kind of lesson that night about sleep interruption, which is something we'll talk about as well. And within about another week, I'd had 2 or 3 more out-of-body experiences, and within a couple more weeks, I got up to the point of having 4 and 5 OBEs in a week that I could, literally trigger myself after great effort, but still nonetheless could do it. And very quickly, I noticed through these out-of-body experiences, my sort of thoughts, my long-held belief systems were starting to sort of become malleable. They were starting to, in some cases, alter and break. And I had to completely reevaluate some of the stuff that I believed at the time. And I often wonder myself, this person I was 5 or 6 years ago, if he was sat where you're sitting now, he'd probably think, what a Fruit Loop this guy is. What is he talking about? But this non-physical reality, these inner planes, which is our heritage, is extremely thought responsive, and an amazing sort of school to be able to sort of get out of body and accelerate your learning in these sort of states of consciousness, which really will blow your mind, really will challenge you, in all of your beliefs to very deep levels. And so, my sort of whole belief systems have been definitely radically changed over 5 and 6 years. I was very, very politically kind of driven 5 or 6 years ago. I was very sort of conspiracy orientated, and this stuff just doesn't register on my radar anymore. I couldn't give 2 hoots if there's alien technology being sequestered away in Area 51 in Nevada. I don't care anymore if the American government helped orchestrate 9/11. This stuff is just the semantics of the system. It's the design of a system which we've all opted into at a deeper level of our consciousness. I'm no longer willing to get that embedded in the drama of this system, because I now realize that that's part of the sort of adherence that keeps us in this very low physical orbit, longer than we really need to. And we're going to talk a little bit about the reincarnation cycle tonight as well, and how for some of us, in the early days, in the beginning, we all had a purpose. But a lot of us have cycled back into this physical system more times than we need to, because we become very heavily addicted to it. And I'll explain what I mean by that. And we'll go into maybe touch on things like karma as well when we get towards the end of the night. But not karma perhaps in the traditional sense that you're aware of. What I feel about karma now is nothing like what I used to think about karma. I don't see it as a punitive system of punishment anymore. I don't see it as a linear cause-effect sort of system. Because once you get a good grip on, past, present, future sort of timelines, that linear sort of existence as being of a time-space sort of construct, of a physical sort of mindset. And the more that you get into these inner planes towards your own spiritual source, time, space, even form starts to fall away and become less sort of consistent. And so we'll discuss that, and hopefully you'll get a good understanding, or at least something to work with for your own explorations. Now, before we go any further, I think it's very important for me to introduce a caveat before we go deeper. And the caveat is this: no matter what I say tonight, I'm not here to convince you of anything. This is my personal journey, and this is a journey that's also, been researched in conjunction with other, very experienced out-of-body explorers. So I'm not here to convince you of anything. I don't have to convince you of anything. I've got something that religion never gave you, and I'm going to give you tools tonight to be able to explore the deepest levels of your own consciousness. So I don't have to convince you. I don't have to sit up here and preach to you. This is the old way of doing things, and that's not what this night's about. So I hope you feel really supported throughout this evening. At the very least, I hope that some of the stuff that we talk about will provoke your thoughts, inspire you to go home and use the tools that I'll share tonight to go as deep as you like. And like I said, we'll address as much fear-related stuff as we need to help you smash through any barriers, because fear will serve as a huge barrier for your exploration. So it's a matter about being able to work through that, really understand this out-of-body state, and get rid of a lot of the misconceptions that exist around this state. But we'll start off with the lucid dreaming, because lucid dreaming, the cool thing about dreaming is we all do it. And we don't have to hang up any belief systems, any philosophies. We all share this baseline. Now, whether or not you remember your dreams every night, that's a different thing altogether. How many people are remembering at least one dream every single night? At least one dream. So about a third of the room. How many people are at least remembering one dream every month? Okay, for about half. Anybody not remembering any dreams at the moment? Okay, so for those of you who are having very little dream recall at the moment, some of the techniques that I'm going to teach you to start off with will get you recalling 5 to 10 dreams minimum every single morning. And you might think, well, I don't know if I can believe that. It sounds a lot more than what is possible. We've just become very limited with our thinking and our ways in physical reality and through this human sort of conditioning. So one thing I'm quite sure of, none of you are here by chance tonight. I understand one of you was on a street corner last week and bumped into a friend of mine, and here you are tonight. So I'm sure you were directed to that street corner by a non-physical sort of energy, and saw that this was aligned with where you're at in your life. So I don't see chance for any of you being here tonight. All I see is synchronicity, and that you were meant to be here. You're meant to be exposed to some of these deep concepts that we're going to discuss. Now, things that don't resonate with you, you don't need to rebel against them. Just let them go. Let them wash to the back of your mind. Things that do resonate with you, great, but at the same time, please, no matter how deeply something I say resonates with you, take the tools. Have your own direct experiences, because this is the only way we come to truth. Otherwise, everything is just a belief system. Even, you go to hear people talk, you go and you read people's books. Wonderful. It's a great way to get inspired, and it's a baseline that you can use to explore from. But it's just a belief system. It's just somebody else's truth, which was, them filtering reality in their own unique way. This is about your individual journey. This is about your truth, nobody else's truth. Yes, there are probably universal truths out there, but there are a hell of a lot more personal truths. And it's about validating yourself on the deepest possible levels, looking at your whole life as a journey, and there's not a single point within that journey that you can invalidate. And when you were a child, some of the things that you did, the books that you read, you can't look back at that and frown on any of it. You can't judge any of it, because it's helped develop your character to where you're at right now in your life. And all of that is very important to understand. Okay, we're just going to start with some benefits of lucid dreaming, just so you can get a good sense of how you can utilize this in your sort of daily life, including for business practices. A great sort of benefit is eliminating nightmares and bad dreams. I know as a child I had a lot of dreams that reoccurred, and some of them were very frightening, and a few of these have sort of seeped into adulthood. And it wasn't until I learned how to become, conscious within my dreams. So before waking up, before we move on, does everybody understand the concept of lucid dreaming? If not, can you put your hand up? Okay, just a few people. So lucid dreaming is when you actually become conscious within the dream while the dream is still activated. For a lot of people, they're not aware that they're dreaming until after the fact, until they've woken up and they're lying there in bed and realize, wow, that was a cool dream. It's a matter of waking up within the dream state itself and being able to become conscious to such a degree that you have enough full waking consciousness to actually be an active participant within the dream state, to be able to direct your experience within that state. Maybe you're not controlling the state, but you're at least able to direct your experience, and we'll discuss that.